Blood dripped slowly down the white walls of a quiet college house in Moscow, Idaho. It was early morning, November 13, 2022. 4 University of Idaho students lay dead inside their home. The small town, once known for its calm and safety, had just become the scene of one of the most shocking crimes in modern American history. Police cars filled the narrow street. Yellow tape surrounded the off-campus house at 1122 King Road. Officers moved silently, their faces pale, their voices low. Inside, the scene was pure chaos. A detective stood frozen in the doorway, whispering, "How could one person do this and leave without a trace?" The room smelled of iron and fear. There were no signs of forced entry. No broken windows. No smashed doors. It was as if the killer had simply walked in and vanished into the night. And that was when they found it, a knife sheath, lying beside one of the victims. It had a single marking, Ka bar. A military-style knife. The kind used in combat. That one clue would later lead investigators on a twisting trail that shocked the nation. But for now, no one knew who the killer was, or if he would strike again. As the detective stepped back out into the cold November air, he looked up toward the surrounding apartments, where students watched in terror. Somewhere out there, he thought, the killer is watching too. The town of Moscow, Idaho would never be the same again. Only a few hours earlier, the night had been like any other for the college students who lived at the King Road house. The home was lively, filled with laughter, lights, and the normal rhythm of young lives. Inside were Kaylee Goncalves, 21, Madison Mogen, 21, Xana Kernodle, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20. They were close friends, some roommates, others dating. That Saturday night, they went out to enjoy themselves like college kids often do. Kaylee and Madison had gone downtown to a local bar called Corner Club, while Xana and Ethan spent time at a nearby fraternity house. By 1:30 a.m., the town was quieting down. Snow dusted the sidewalks. The small college town, surrounded by forested hills, looked peaceful from the outside. But as security cameras would later show, the night held secrets the world wouldn't learn until it was too late. Kaylee and Madison returned home just before 2 a.m. They ordered late-night food from a truck downtown, chatting and laughing on camera. A few minutes later, Xana and Ethan came home too. Upstairs, 2 other roommates were asleep in their rooms, unaware that anything was wrong. At around 4 a.m., the lights in the house dimmed. Everyone was either asleep or getting ready for bed. The neighborhood fell silent. Then came the shadow. A figure in dark clothing moved quietly toward the house. Security cameras from a nearby home captured a faint sound, a dog barking. Then, a scream. A chilling scream that pierced the silence. But it lasted only a second. Neighbors later said they didn't think much of it. After all, college houses were often noisy. Nobody could imagine what was happening behind those walls. Inside the house, the killer moved swiftly. The attack lasted only minutes, but it was brutal, calculated, and filled with rage. Police later said it was likely all 4 victims were attacked while sleeping. Some had tried to fight back. The killer left behind a storm of violence, and one critical mistake, the knife sheath. By morning, the sun rose over the quiet town. The victims' friends tried calling and texting them, but no one answered. Around noon, one of the surviving roommates finally stepped out of her room and saw something horrifying. The police were called at 11:58 a.m. When officers arrived, they could hardly believe what they found. The town's first major crime scene in years had become a nightmare. Students at the University of Idaho received text alerts telling them to shelter in place. Parents began calling their children non-stop. Rumors spread fast about a stalker, a serial killer, or even a revenge plot. But the truth was, no one knew anything. Days passed. No arrests. No suspects. No murder weapon. The FBI joined the case. Detectives from across Idaho came to help. Still, the killer seemed to have disappeared completely. That's when strange things started to surface. One report mentioned a white Hyundai Elantra seen speeding away from the area around 3:45 a.m. Another tip claimed someone had been following one of the victims weeks before the murders. Social media exploded with theories, each more bizarre than the last. The victims' families begged for answers. Kaylee's father said, "We will not rest until this monster is found." Investigators combed through hundreds of surveillance videos. They collected DNA samples from thousands of people. But the clue that would break the case came from that one small mistake, the knife sheath. The sheath had DNA on its button snap, a single male profile. It didn't match anyone in the police database. But the FBI decided to try something new, genetic genealogy, the same method used to catch the Golden State Killer. They uploaded the DNA to a public database, searching for family connections. Weeks later, a match appeared. A relative from Pennsylvania. The trail led to a 28-year-old criminology PhD student at Washington State University, just a short drive away from Moscow, Idaho. His name, Bryan Kohberger. He studied criminal justice, taught classes about crime, and even discussed how killers think. He seemed obsessed with understanding what drives people to commit murder. But no one could imagine that he might be living that obsession. Detectives started watching him secretly. They tracked his car, a white Hyundai Elantra. They followed him across states as he drove home to Pennsylvania for the holidays. When they searched his trash, they found DNA that matched the profile from the knife sheath. The killer had been found. On December 30, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was arrested by a SWAT team in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. His parents stood shocked as police cars surrounded their home. The suspect didn't fight back. He simply asked one question: did anyone else get arrested? It was over, or so the town thought. As investigators pieced together what happened, new questions began to rise. How did he choose his victims? Had he been stalking them for weeks? What did he mean when he whispered "I'm fine" during his first court appearance? Even now, the motive remains a mystery. The house at 1122 King Road has since been demolished, but its ghost still lingers in every headline, every whisper in the town of Moscow. The story of the Idaho College Murders had only begun. And just when everyone thought the nightmare was ending, something strange happened. Late one night, months after the arrest, a letter arrived at the Moscow Police Department. It had no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper with 4 words, written in uneven letters. "You caught the wrong one." The room fell silent. The detective in charge looked up, his hands shaking slightly. "What if," he whispered, "this isn't over?" The letter lay on the detective's desk under a small lamp. 4 words. Black ink. Uneven handwriting. "You caught the wrong one." Detective Harris stared at it for a long time. The whole station was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. After months of pressure, after an arrest that the entire country had been waiting for, this small piece of paper felt like a bomb. He finally broke the silence. "Test it for prints. DNA. Anything," he said quietly. The evidence team rushed to work. They placed the letter into a plastic bag, careful not to smudge it. The air in the room felt heavy, like everyone had the same thought but was too afraid to say it. What if Bryan Kohberger isn't the only one? That night, snow began to fall again over Moscow, Idaho. Most students had already left for winter break. The campus looked like a ghost town. But inside the police station, the investigation had suddenly come alive again. They checked the letter for DNA, but the paper was clean. No fingerprints. No saliva. No trace of who had touched it. The envelope had been mailed from Spokane, Washington, just 2 hours away. The letter had to mean something. But what? Detective Harris went back through the files, photos, and hours of surveillance footage. Kohberger's car. The phone data. The DNA on the knife sheath. It all still pointed to him. The science didn't lie, but then again, the letter existed. And whoever sent it knew exactly what to say to bring doubt back into the case. Meanwhile, across the country, Bryan Kohberger sat in a small jail cell in Idaho, waiting for trial. He said very little, but the few words he did speak were strange. "Did you find the message?" he asked one of the guards one night. "What message?" the guard said. Kohberger smiled faintly and looked away. The guard didn't know what to think. He didn't tell anyone about that conversation until weeks later. Outside the jail, the victims' families tried to move forward, but the pain was still raw. Kaylee's mother said, "It's like I wake up every morning and the nightmare starts all over again." Madison's best friend posted a message online, "We just want to understand why." But no one had an answer. Investigators returned to Washington State University to dig deeper into Kohberger's life. They spoke with his professors and classmates. Some said he was quiet, intense, and always asking strange questions about how police catch killers. One student remembered him saying, "Criminals make mistakes because they think they're smarter than everyone else." Another classmate recalled how he'd once asked, "What if someone framed the wrong person? Would the system ever admit it?" That statement sent chills down the detective's spine when he read it in the report. Could the letter be part of some sick game? A final twist from Kohberger himself? Or was someone else involved, someone watching from the shadows?